Bienvenidos, worldwide fans of cinema. Jaime En Fuego here with a full crew for Enfuegotainment's first review of the 2016 blockbuster season, our 1-year anniversary. Woo-hoo-hoo! Yes, indeed. And so I have a full table with us to talk about a movie that's been decades in the making, guys. I mean, seriously, over half a century. Batman v Superman.
You know the oldest lie in America, Senator? It's that power can be innocent.
You're gonna go to war. That son of a bitch brought the war to us. You know you can't win this. It's suicide.
The greatest gladiator match in the history of the world. Son of Krypton versus Bat of Gotham.
With me, I have my regular cohort in crime.
What's up? I'm Cecil Laird.
And then we have a guest from the horror show, one of our production homies.
I'm Andrew Mercer.
And then, of course, my best friend since childhood, the guy that I read a lot of these comics with, that they're deriving the inspiration from.
Sam Ricketts.
Thanks for joining me, man. And gracias to these two who you've probably seen me with before on camera. So, Batman v Superman. There was a little bit of good, a little bad, definitely some ugly in this film. We always talk about Bueno, Malo, and Feo here on Enfuegotainment, but I'm just going to give you the breakdown once more for 2016. So, guys, good. I think general consensus, we all like this. Cecil?
I liked it way more than I thought I was going to based on other people's reviews.
Yeah, there's been some harsh ones, man.
And honestly based on reactions to the trailer, the second trailer in specific.
Well, we'll get to that in the
yeah.
Feo, but...
But overall, I actually had a really good time at this movie, and I really didn't think I was going to, but I just enjoyed it.
Yeah, lowered expectations. Yeah, when this film has been delayed as much as this one was, and then, I mean, rumors of trying to appear the characters on screen since the Tim Burton days, man, when you and I were first enjoying Batman on screen, right?
Quite a long time that we've been watching Batman. And I really, as I know you did, enjoyed those three first Batman movies, even though the third was somewhat of a letdown.
Batman Forever, you mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that was part of the reason that even I had low expectations going into this movie. I wasn't really holding out for anything real special, but I have to say I was entertained.
Yeah, also Dark Knight Rises, the last time we saw Batman on screen, sucked. That movie is a big time follow for me. I couldn't stand it. I thought they butchered Nightfall, one of our favorite storylines of Batman, right?
They really did, and I was hoping after the first two, which were great, that we'd see something that was amazing with the third, especially when I heard they were bringing Bane in. But
yeah, disappointment. What did you guys think of the last time we saw the Caped Crusader on screen?
I like the movies. I'm a big fan of most of the Batman movies.
Even Rises, man.
Yeah, I don't know. You throw enough special effects at me, I end up just kind of liking it. I'm sorry. You throw enough money at the project, I'm probably gonna like
Transformers.
it. I mean, unfortunately, you know, I hear a lot of the same critiques that you guys have.
Yeah.
It just didn't hit the points that it needed to.
Oh no, a lot of critics liked it, a lot of audiences liked it, but the reason I bring that film up is because one of my buenos, holy shit, I'd never seen a Batman fighting so viciously, maybe a little too viciously, but then again, they're doing a different take on the source material, so give it a break if there's something different. Yeah, he goes a little overboard, but the combat was fantastic. I loved his interplay with the newly cast Alfred, and yeah, there's lots of good that I can mention about that. So, Sam, what's something that you thought was bueno, man, that you dug about the movie?
well, honestly, I thought most of the fight scenes were pretty great. I mean, explosions, punches, just everyone beating the living heck out of each other.
Yeah.
It was great. People getting thrown through walls, buildings almost collapsing
Yeah.
under the weight of the fights. I mean, the special effects were great.
Yeah, the whole film looked killer, right?
It did.
Yeah.
It did.
Cecil, would you agree the film looked fantastic? Zack Snyder, he's often someone that he's polarizing. People critique him a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, sometimes there's reason. You know, Sucker Punch was one of those reasons. However, I really enjoyed not only 300, but I enjoyed a lot of aspects of Watchmen.
I enjoyed Watchmen.
I, of course, loved the Dawn of the Dead remake that he did. But I don't know why there's such vitriol for the man. He knows his way around action. He knows his way around iconic slow motion sort of setups.
There's enough of that in this.
And there was a lot of that.
Walking.
But there was some tremendous cinematography. Specifically, it actually jumped out at me the most in the opening scene where there's a lot of early Bruce Wayne stuff that you see, and there was so many beautiful images that, you know, a good movie, every frame should be able to be taken out of the film and be basically a beautiful picture on its own.
The background on your computer.
Exactly. So this movie has that in spades, in my opinion.
Almost every shot.
Yeah. Looked beautiful, man. And even the finished effects of Doomsday didn't look that bad, right?
It didn't look that bad. It didn't look like it changed a whole hell of a lot since we saw him in the trailer.
We'll save that for the
And
Malo.
I gotta say, they got me. They got me with Doomsday.
Yeah?
They did.
That was what hooked you to want to see it?
No. In the movie, they got me, is what I mean. Because I saw him come out, and he's this smooth, almost baby-skinned looking.
Oh, so you were
whatever.
like,
and I'm like, where are the spikes? Where are they? Right?
But there's
Then
a
bam.
second form.
Yeah,
That's right.
He's kind of
That's
like
right.
mutating. But Andrew, Mr. Mercer, man, what did you like about What's Bueno?
We should mention, though, that Andrew has a specifically unique perspective on this film.
Touché.
Because he did not see Man of Steel.
It's the second entry in this new DC universe, and
Okay.
it's cool seeing you come in cold turkey because it was a film, dude, that it pissed off a lot of purists.
Yeah.
big
Well, like I said, they caught me up really quick. I saw, like you said, the cinematics with Bruce Wayne and all that stuff, and then you get into this building cutting scene that's just
Which we already seen, but not from this perspective.
It was pretty intense, and you know, you see Bruce going, you see buildings collapsing, and it brought you up to speed right away. And even as far as like intensity and what to expect from the movie, it brought you right there, and it's okay, here we go. And you felt the animosity right away between the two.
Mm-hmm.
You understood why. You saw the connecting factors, and I was able to kind of pick up and just go, but trying to do my homework. So I kind of knew a little bit about kind of what was going on.
What's a specific bueno from the movie that you liked?
A specific bueno?
Yeah.
I would say the specific fight scene with the armor.
Okay, so the big confrontation
yes,
between
yes,
the two
that-
characters. Yeah.
The
Because
titular fight.
Well, I always say, you know, how are you going to beat Superman? How is that possible? And everyone's, the gadgets. And
No, it's never the gadget.
How else could he fight him?
It played into this really well, and it kind of retuned me into why Batman should be taken as a threat and not just kind of like, okay, well, I took your belt off and
That's true. You do kind of see why he belongs on the Justice League. in this movie.
Yeah.
He can stand toe to toe. Like, that was actually surprising. I'm glad he said that because we have sort of limited buenos to talk about, and I have a lot I would actually like to talk about.
Same here.
But this fight specifically, I mean, they needed to deliver on this specific fight, and in my opinion, they delivered.
They
like,
did. There's
it
a
wasn't
marquee
even
moment.
a massive amount of locations. It was really just sort of one building, but man,
Batman
it
was smart.
so awesome.
He was smart about the location, though, because unlike what we'd seen Supes do in Man of Steel, he didn't want a body count associated with their fight.
Well, and the movie went above and beyond. 3 different occasions they told the audience, oh no, it's clear, it's empty, the work day is done, no one's there.
Yeah,
They mentioned it
exactly.
so many times in this movie to try and CYA. It's ridiculous.
It was a silly reassurance, but this was a conflict we had been wanting to see, but they were borrowing story elements, you know, hence the armor, from a very iconic story in particular, and I really loved the way they built up the conflict. Like, we saw it build up differently in this Frank Miller source material that they borrowed liberally from, but not as much as I was expecting. But seriously, one of my favorite things about it, even if I might have had some scripting problems, the idea, the concept, and the message of this film really hit me right here. The misuse of power, everything about why Batman wanted to go toe-to-toe with him, the motivation made sense to me, and I thought that was one of the film's biggest and best things, was just the angle that they were pushing the story forward with. And it wasn't so much political as like just speaking about social issues and like how we would react if an all-powerful alien was suddenly here. Sam, is there any other good thing that you could mention? Or?
I thought that the fight was done well because what Batman did is he drew Superman into a trap.
Yeah.
You know, he had all these worthless pieces of junk out there, and Superman just, you know, gone. And then Batman gets shoved through a few walls. It's almost like he knew exactly what would happen.
Well, Batman's supposed to be the smarter one, and since it's an older Batman, right? And like a young little pup Superman.
The smarter one, though?
No, well, we know who was the smartest in all of this, and honestly, that's a good segue into my Malo, because the fact that it's still something that, even though I liked what they did with the character, I still hated the casting. I didn't like Jesse Eisenberg as Luthor. I know that's something that some of the fanboys were, saying was going to be terrible, and I was like, no, man, this could be cool. It's obviously in Elseworlds with this casting, right, Cecil?
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean,
did it work for you?
I actually did like Lex, or Alexander, we should say, because he mentions right off the bat, my father is the Lex that put the Lex before the core. So he's supposed to be Alexander. He's not meant to be the Lex Luthor we all sort of know from all the past portrayals. So he brought his own nuances to it. And if you're familiar with the other of the two stories they took into account, which we can't go that deep into.
We'll wait until the
There was an Alexander Luthor around for a while in the comics, and he was Lex Luthor's son, and he had longer red hair, and he was suave and had certain character tics, which Jesse Eisenberg took to an extreme in this movie, but that's why I liked it, because it was sort of so far away from what we had seen in other Lexes. I kind of dug that.
A different portrayal.
He didn't have the best of motivations. That was a problem for me. But the portrayal itself was unique, and that's what I liked about it.
Yeah, I liked what he did. I just didn't like him. Maybe that's a good way of putting it. I know this guy has some gripes with this movie. He was going into it when we were approaching the days and stuff, right? You were just like, I don't think this is going to be any good. What didn't work in this movie for you, man? What did they botch?
I think that some of the character play was just a little too basic in some ways. They tried to cram a whole bunch of it in there, and because they didn't get to build much on any of it. It was just all crammed in. Right, and a lot of it felt really forced. It didn't flow as well as I felt it should have. There were elements where it felt like we're over here, and now all of a sudden we're way over here. And I'm thinking to myself, there are ways to kind of segue this. I've seen other directors do this very successfully, and all these scenes taken individually were gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. But when thrown out there the way they were, it kind of almost felt mishmash.
Disjointed, maybe? Yeah, the editing style didn't help for that either, and there's, like a half an hour of deleted footage. This was supposed to be like 3 hours. And
I actually think that's going to help. I think there were some glaring skips. Like you were saying, like there were some segues that were missing. I think that's the stuff they might have had to pull out. Because they're like, listen, we need to just get there. We need to just get to this next thing, because there was a lot of action in the movie, and there wasn't a lot of breathing room in between the action set pieces, which was nice to see as a viewer. It's a 2 hour and 41 minute movie, right?
2:33.
2:33. Okay, something like that. It didn't feel that way. I've recently watched both Mission Impossible 5 and Spectre. Both 2 hour, 10 minute, 2 hours and 30 something minutes respectively. And they both felt every minute of it. This did not feel every minute of it. And it still felt a little choppy. So I think the 30 minutes that we're going to get back might make it a little bit better, a la the director's cut of Daredevil.
And director's cut of Watchmen, too, which also improved that.
Yep, exactly.
So you keep going to the buenos, even when we're discussing the Malos. So what didn't work, man? I mean, I know you got something in mind.
There's some enormous, fundamental character alterations in this movie.
Which will piss off more fanboys.
It'll piss off a lot of people. But it's funny, I mentioned when we were discussing just briefly before we started the review, I mentioned I approached these movies after Man of Steel. I was so angry that I realized, okay, I need to just look at it as an Elseworld. And Elseworld, for people that don't know, is basically DC Comics' version of a what if. And if I look at these like, this isn't supposed to be the comics brought to life. This is our own story. It's a very dark version of the story, but it is still, my character's just done in a different way. And when I saw that, when I saw it that way, these fundamental changes didn't really bother me. What did bother me was partly the structure, the skipping from thing to thing, the lack of proper motivations. Like you said, you like the motivations of a couple characters, but that doesn't cover everyone. Some people's motivations just didn't make sense.
Or felt forced.
Yeah, it felt forced.
Lane.
Right. But, that whole thing felt forced. But there was so many little buenos along the way. Superman taking a particular tactic with Doomsday. As soon as he started going in a particular direction with Doomsday, I was like, yes, do that. And then something happens out there.
From another story.
And then I was like, oh, they're just doing all these cool things that we've seen in comics but haven't been done on screen. And I just loved that. I loved it so much, seeing those moments, that it just apparently because it surprised me too. But apparently, it just far outweighed all of the Malo I might have seen in it.
Yeah, since you're still evading the question,
Yeah.
I know this guy has something bad to
All
say.
right, so you guys said you liked it. I did not like Doomsday. I felt like it was a mix between Abomination from the Hulk
You're gonna go there, aren't you?
and the Cloverfield monster.
Or
Not a Ninja Turtle.
Not a Ninja Turtle,
or an
but-
orc from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, you
Right.
can go all.
That's kind of what it looked like to start with.
Yeah.
And yes, it did kind of transform, which once it gets to the point that I think in my head it should get to, it's probably going to look pretty badass. But the fact that I don't know, I guess I had to see it early. I was like, but sticking to the story, I guess it makes sense. It's early, and I just kind of caught up on the whole Doomsday thing. You can get rid of Doomsday for a time, but he's gonna come back.
Did you like how big he was though? Like, I love the fact that he's like twice Superman's size.
The fact that I
Right.
said he's Abomination size,
Yeah.
Hulk size, 8 feet, 9 feet tall, huge.
But he looked almost bigger than that even. Like,
No, he looked like
when
20,
Superman
yeah,
was on
12,
top of him,
Yeah.
like he was just holding on to Doomsday's head.
Well, he kept-
like, and that he had his arms around
Did it
Doomsday's
seem like
head.
he was actually growing during the movie,
I
getting
think he
bigger?
was. I
Because
think he was.
he was.
That's
Yeah,
kind of
because
what I
it
was
seemed
thinking.
like at the start, like they were. I mean, he was maybe twice, maybe 3 times Superman size, right?
But he got
But
bigger,
after
yeah.
this and that happens to him, he just boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Which would make
Yeah.
sense though, because he's a newborn growing.
That's what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
that's
yeah.
true. That's true.
He's
And
got-
they added powers that he does indeed have in the comics, but didn't
Right.
get until fairly recently.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was a gripe I had, but I don't know. It was good. It's fine.
I mean, I guess it all is Elseworld, like you say, but I wish to God there was some way they could have really brought the true Doomsday story in.
Yeah, I agree.
As opposed to skimming over it, which
Yeah.
is essential. And we're obviously kind of getting into spoiler territory, at least a little bit. We're going to say full-blown stuff of the cuidados, feo spoilers till the very end. But the one bad thing that I got to say is that, like you said, they had so many different story beats. It just kept going. It was relentless. The average moviegoer who doesn't know as much about all these characters, they're going to be very confused about stuff like, when they show the various members of, a certain league that's about to assemble without divulging too much. Also, a scene which everybody in the press was saying was like a vision or like a dream or something. There's a lot of dream sequences in this movie. Lots of people just kind of tripping out and things being revealed to them, whether it's characters we weren't expecting to see or hints at ones we weren't.
Well, I can
necessarily
piggyback on that for
expecting
my
to see.
Feo if you want.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
maybe that's a good thing. So basically, bottom line that I'm trying to say is I could see how the average moviegoer could totally be lost at certain instances, and it was fanboy service in some way. But we're going to segue into the Feo, the ugly part. Cecil already has something in mind.
I do. So basically, the Feo we can take a couple different ways on Enfuegotainment, you guys. Sometimes it's just flat out ugly, something bad, something terrible, something perhaps behind the scenes that's just ugly about the movie. Sometimes the ugly is a very cool, gross, nasty kind of ugly.
It gets
right?
a reaction out of you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is the ugly that I'm going to go for
I
this
know
time.
exactly what it is too because my jaw dropped.
If it is the same thing,
Yeah.
the Vision. The Vision in question.
No, not actually.
The Vision in question, which was glimpsed in the trailers for the movie. This was the reason it's ugly for me is because now I'm very upset that I have to wait to further the DC storyline.
We know
because
what's coming.
There's so many. Like, we thought maybe we were seeing what we actually see in the trailer. For those DC universe lovers, especially those of the otherworldly, you could almost call them apocalyptic, bad things coming this way. It's amazing, from both certain flying things to certain lava death pits kind of things. Oh, it's just so much cool that it's frustrating and ugly that I have to wait for more of this.
Truly, yeah. When you saw Batman out in that weird desert gear and stuff, I mean, maybe that'll just kind of hint at what we're discussing. Sam, what was ugly, man? Something that you were just like, why did they do that? Even like Beyond Bad or...
It's hard to put my finger on it. Maybe if I had to really say something, Wonder Woman.
I was just going to say.
You didn't like it, huh?
I was just going to say.
It actually
I mean,
kind of worked for me.
She was not Amazonian big. Like,
No.
she didn't have that
And-
presence, in my opinion.
She
But she was
didn't.
still fun.
She was very mysterious.
And her the whole introduction with her too made absolutely
slow
no sense to me too.
Yeah, that was.
What's that all about?
That was a little
I was
odd.
very confused. Just
That was one of those cramming things you were talking about.
Overstuffing the
was.
turkey, man.
Yeah.
Because they had so much to throw out.
And obviously, they're setting her up for something in the future. And
Solo
so they
movie.
wanted this introduction,
Which I'm excited
Right.
about based on what we saw in this.
Yeah.
She can do some cool stuff.
Right.
Yeah, once she got
it
fighting.
looked pretty awesome.
Yeah, but she doesn't have to talk for that. So.
Truth.
That is true.
And yet there's one more fail I have to say before I hand it off to Andrew over here, is that I think with the second trailer, we all know that character that didn't work for some, Mr. Doomsday. He was cool, but I feel like the movie became predictable because when they revealed that beat in that second trailer, we knew they were eventually going to become friends and go against this particular character. Even though I loved the message, I loved what they were trying to say, I loved the shots, the acting, it was predictable. It was very predictable.
The
and
movie was predictable.
Yeah, the whole thing, when I saw Doomsday, I'm like, they're totally going to kill him, aren't they? And I didn't even think that before until I saw the nature of how the conflict was going, and when I saw spears, which have kryptonite on them, yeah, we're going to go into full-on spoiler territory. So, Andrew, you got something ugly in mind, my friend?
I personally liked a lot of the movie, but I hated how they kind of introduced all of the other members. I don't think any of them did justice to any of them.
That felt very crowbarred also.
Yeah, well, they just wanted to give that slight little hint, but they...
That was more than a slight hint.
Well, I mean, to the uninitiated audience person...
It was basically a 30-second trailer for each of the new things we've got.
Right? Yeah.
Like, here's Jason Momoa. Here's
Jason Momoa. Here's
Flash.
Cyborg. It's like, okay, so we get to literally see each one of them. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
I'm just upset that there wasn't more, because I felt like they needed to hint at those characters.
It was, I don't know, it wasn't like we've been tracking you. It was just like, oh, we have these random data files, but they completely explain what's going on here.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I...
And how do they all have logos already?
Right? Like, can we get a little more realism? I mean, everything else is made to
Like
look so cool.
WW, like what? Well, really? We know
Is
she's
this
Wonder
how
Woman already?
supervillains keep their files? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
They were handing out Polaroids earlier.
Like
and
Lex,
I had
so I guess Lex named all the Justice League.
That was my
apparently?
theory, and that was one interesting ugly, was that even though I didn't like Eisenberg's character, I was like, oh wow, he knows everything.
He does.
I thought that was kind of cool,
I did
actually.
too.
That was what made me respect the portrayal a little bit more.
Yeah,
so.
that's the thing. Like, I don't think they dropped the ball with him nearly as much as some people seem to think so.
People hate change.
They do. They really do. And listen, I'm 35. It's not my comics. I'm not the main audience for this stuff anymore. It's kids younger than me, and they want to try
I
and
disagree
update
with
everything.
that. I disagree with that, because look at the fan service that we got in this film, the Easter eggs throughout and stuff.
There are, but
adapting
that's but
stories.
but the whole thing was still overall geared towards a younger audience, in my opinion. They took little things to throw in for us.
Yeah,
but I don't think that we're the overall audience that they're going for. Like,
Well, it's not that difficult with this movie because, again, I just think we need to go back to how disjointed it really was.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
throws you a curveball every few seconds. You as soon as you complete one scene and you think maybe we're going to get something that goes back to continuity with a previous scene, nope, boom, we're jumping to yet a third reality or some other plot line or whatever, and it just keeps taking you for a curve every few moments. And while that would be great, I think you're right, we might need that last 30 minutes
to explain
fill
some
in
of
the
it.
rest of the story.
Exactly.
And maybe show us Joker, and maybe reveal if that was really Flash cutting through the multiverse to give him that vision, like I think it was. Or...
At first I thought it had to be Flash also, but it doesn't look like Flash. I was
Especially
looking
when
really
they showed
close.
him on the surveillance footage.
It looked.
Then
I was wondering.
maybe it's
I'm
not.
like, okay, is it?
I still think it is.
Is it maybe a vibe? A vibe for the DC movie universe, because he can go through universes, or is it someone just calling from another universe? But that's the thing, it's got to be Flash if it's time travelers. If it's a time traveler from a crisis, obviously he's shown up from a crisis, it's got to be Flash, but it didn't look like Flash to me. I was like, maybe it's Booster Gold, because he can travel through time and do that stuff too, but
they go with
that would be reaching for the
lesser-known
stars in my
character, probably
opinion.
not.
Oof.
Not with this one. So
Oh, you know what? I've got something that this just irked the hell out of me.
Okay.
beautiful, yeah.
This really bothered me, okay? When Lex got permission to have full access to General Zod's body, the government's just like, go ahead, right? And then he cuts the fingerprints off and accesses the ship. Nobody else has been in this ship
Well, no, they have, but they haven't been able to do anything because they didn't have the fingerprints.
They couldn't.
Nobody
activate
else
it.
thought with a hand symbol entry on the doorway that, hey, maybe this body of General Zod, you know, the entire U.S. government and everyone who works for them that had access to that, none of them thought to do that. It took this supervillain in all his genius, which you and I could have figured that. It bothered me, too, that all of a sudden Metropolis can see the bat sign.
Yeah, right across the bay from Gotham.
Yeah, and totally easy for Lois Lane to get there on helicopter because for whatever reason she had to be in all these fight scenes needlessly. I'm like, why the hell is she here? This is totally Stoops.
It's constantly damsel in distress.
And through the sound of nuclear bombs, Superman can hear her heartbeat.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Well,
we all know who
it was a
cares
quiet
about.
moment. But that, that actually reminded me of the thing that I alluded to in the regular part of the review was I loved when Superman went barreling into Doomsday and curved him up and immediately started flying him up. And I'm like, ooh, he's going to take him to space.
Yeah.
And then they were like, he's going to take him to space. And he flies him up into space and then they shoot a nuke up.
Yeah.
And they blow up Superman, who's holding Doomsday, knowing that he's about to get hit with a giant bomb.
Yeah, so nuke at Superman in space, I'm immediately thinking, yeah, they're going to do Dark Knight Returns where he's like all skeleton up in space.
And they totally did, and he was all like shriveled and gaunt, and then the sun rises over the side of the earth, and he like pulls everything back, and I was like, oh, it was so cool to actually see them portray that. And then the other
Ugly
really
good.
yeah,
Ugly bueno.
the other really awesome moment was a moment that actually, I've done this I think maybe 4 times in my life that I can remember seeing a movie
We're
where
gonna
I'm
talk
like,
about the one that
where I'm
I
like,
thought about. Yeah.
and that was
where
there's a government hearing and
Yeah.
they've convinced Superman to come and speak about this intervening in foreign lands and whatever, blah blah blah, plot.
You see, this is what I thought you were going to mention the first time.
No.
That was the one
So
that
he
just
walks in
right in my throat.
and basically there's a guy that's holding a grudge against Superman because he lost his legs in the fight against Zod. And when he walks in, there's this massive like courtroom, and it's government officials and Holly Hunter's character,
who I hated. She's so dumb.
and Lex Luthor's bodyguard Mercy.
She was a very half-assed villain, and that's a fail.
But anyway, he's in there, and all of a sudden, like Superman just kind of looks over, and the dude who had the grudge against him, there's a bomb in his chair and it just blows everyone up in this government building. And outside, everyone like sees the building explode and they're like, oh my God. And Lois is like, oh my God. And then they go back in and it's just Superman standing there with his eyes closed, and he slowly opens them as the fire starts to sort of clear around him. And it was such, as a fan of Superman since his death, literally, I started reading Superman when Doomsday killed him at the end of 1992.
Yep, same here.
And I don't recall a moment, I'm sure there has been over the years of comic collecting that I have, but I don't recall a moment that was quite as poignant as that. Seeing Superman knowing that he failed to do anything to prevent any one person's death in this particular circumstance. That hit, like you said,
There's a lot of
hit
collateral
really
damage,
hard.
man. It hit me right in the chest.
But it wasn't the same sort of collateral damage as it was in Man of Steel. Like this was genuinely heart-wrenching.
And it was heart-wrenching because of the fact that he was being continually scapegoated for all this stuff he had nothing to do with, which really, credit to the guy pulling the strings, Mr. Luthor. I mean, I was really impressed with the way he pitted the two of them against each other.
Well, and he's been talking about how Superman is a god the whole movie and trying to take him out of being a god. And this one scene proves that he's not a god. He couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
What was his overall motivation to go after Superman like that? Because generally there's some sort of motivation behind a Luthor. Power, usually. They want to control something.
He was talking
But
about
it's
power all
almost
movies.
almost like he's crazy, right?
Well, he was just supposedly, in this, his characterization in this was the supposed Earth defender. You know, he's like, this guy has too much power. Look at the destruction that can rain down. Look at what happens when one Kryptonian or a group of Kryptonians turn, and now we're embracing one. Like that was basically it. Which is all that it is, sort of in. Like, there's a really great Brian Azzarello written comic called Luthor that was just 5 issues, and it's basically the story of Superman seen through Luthor's eyes and why he sees him as an alien, not as Superman. He sees him literally as an alien, which is what he is, and so he feels like he's Earth's protector. And so that was the motivation in this. Unfortunately, it wasn't that clear. It wasn't clear at all. I just have that's me reading into it, which I'm guessing
I
that's
can
what the
see that.
filmmaker wanted me to do.
I can agree though, man. I thought his
Good guess.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Probably Zack Snyder's, if he watches this, he's like, yeah! Someone got it!
I did it. Andrew, any last Feo before we wrap things up here, man?
No, I like
Something you want to spoil, man?
Okay, I guess one thing I didn't really like was the Batmobile. Didn't
Yeah.
like it in the film. Throw it out.
I like
do a
it.
new one. You know, I would take the one with the turbo in the front over any of them.
I thought that Batmobile scene was actually really awesome.
I thought it was
too.
dope.
Where you have this Batmobile that's literally driving through buildings, right? Just
Through buildings and
the scene
through
was
bad
cool,
guys'
right?
cars.
And then Superman stands there and it goes.
Yeah. See, there
were so many moments like
that
where
moment
I
too.
felt like a kid seeing all the combat.
When Batman
amongst
is
the two of them.
punching Superman and he thinks he's got the upper edge, and Superman goes, wham, wham, wham. And then he just stops
slowly
moving.
not
He's just
hitting him.
slowly not moving when Batman punches him. I was like, that's Superman.
Kryptonite's
after,
wearing off.
After Superman knocks him down a couple more times, there's that scene where he's almost just like, like he's about to get hit again. It's like, stop, please.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, he's like,
yeah.
he's like literally getting to like that. But
that's the pussy Ben Affleck we know.
well, they start off the fight exactly like at the very beginning. They acknowledge, okay, if this were a real fight, Superman would whoop his ass because Batman gets in his face. First thing that happens is Superman just goes, and Batman goes flying
And it's
back.
like, okay, I need kryptonite.
Yeah.
This ain't gonna work.
So they answer the question right up front. Listen, it's no contest.
Yeah.
Without help from something that is leveling the playing field, a la kryptonite or magic or Doomsday's bones, because they're Kryptonian, they can actually cut his flesh. That is those. There's no contest otherwise. So I love that they acknowledge that right up front.
Yeah. Did you like the fact that they brought Zod as mutated Zod into Doomsday?
I mean, I figured that's what they were going to do when we saw his body in the trailer.
Everybody figured that,
Yeah.
and that's back to the whole predictable. That the use of the kryptonite
we
was
figured out the spear
predictable.
was going to be used to.
Yeah, when they introduced the spear, as soon as Batman's holding it over Superman, I'm like, you can't do that. You're going to need it against...
And that's honestly the biggest fail for me. And there was some Bueno and Malo in it. That's the third act.
Especially what that scene towards the end where Batman swoops in and makes the save and says, "Oh, I'm a friend of your son's." After what, 5 minutes earlier, they were bashing each other's skulls in.
Yeah, the third act for me was really Feo in the fact that I love the brooding of the conflict, and then Luthor shows how vicious he is, man. He goes and kidnaps Superman's, he showed
Both
that he,
of his women.
Yeah, he shows that he is an asshole, trash.
He just shoves
vicious
Lois
guy,
off the
man.
roof. I was like, oh yeah! Like I was hoping he would.
Once he started embracing the villainy, that's when he started working more for me. But yeah, I mean, you saw the ugliness of the character. You saw that there was some nastiness there. But yeah, the whole third act, man, where they had to suddenly become friends, and we knew they were going to become friends all along. It's called Dawn of Justice, for God's sake.
Well, and the big thing that we didn't even mention that you alluded
he
to,
actually died.
they kill Superman.
They really do. Yeah. I didn't think they were going to go full blown with, but it was
Doomsday runs him through with a massive bone spike as Superman's killing him. Very much like in the comics, except it's punches in the comics. Superman brings it down while Doomsday punches up. They knock each other out at the same time in the comic, and they take each other out at the same time in this.
I guess that's why they had to have Lois there, right? Because
But that's
she's
the
crying
thing.
over the
If
body and the...
Doomsday, like Andrew said, he does not have to be gone. If they pull that thing out of him when they're trying to dispose of the body, he can come back. He can wake back up easily.
Yeah. Well, I mean, don't they chain him and throw him out into space?
Well, the
in
cyborg
comic?
Superman does. The cyborg Superman.
Yeah.
That's the first. It's like Ricketts mentioned towards the end of the movie that it's leading into the reign of the Superman, and that's the thing. The first issue we see the cyborg Superman at the very end. What he does is, or the whole issue, he goes in and steals Doomsday's body, chains it to a massive rock, and hurls it out into space. And as it's flying away, Doomsday wakes up and starts laughing.
God, that'd be so Feo if they brought back Shaquille O'Neal, dude. And on that note, I guess it's probably time for us to wrap all this silliness up. You know, as a whole, I enjoyed the movie way more than I was expecting to. dare I say, it could have been spectacular.
Yes.
It came very, very close for me. It was much, much better. General consensus?
Yeah.
Entertaining.
Yeah, entertaining and definitely worth seeing. So,
Yes.
yeah.
In the big screen for sure. Don't wait for
Yes.
Netflix, because there's a lot of cool action. You got to go see.
I need a big screen because there's so many Easter eggs too.
Well, and there's a lot of
things to pick
dude,
up on.
when you guys see Batman whooping ass in that scene, you got to just see it on the big screen.
Yeah. Or
for
the
sure.
fight with Superman and smashing
so
through all the
great.
walls like
All the
sandwiches.
So
flying,
great.
They had their tracking him while he's flying with.
We did see it in
Lois, all that
3D,
stuff.
which
Yeah.
I thought was awesome.
It was effective.
it
The
was
Some of the
embers
3D
of
effects were pretty awesome.
Yeah, the
It was
embers from the
great.
destroyed
Yeah,
buildings
yeah.
and stuff all floating around.
Yeah.
At the start, or well, towards the start, where there's that when it shows the previous fight.
God,
And
that
there's
scene was
spaceship
so.
flying over.
My
It was
God, talk
intense.
about bringing the audience in
Yeah.
right away.
Yeah.
When Bruce is driving around Metropolis as Zod and him are fighting, and the buildings are falling, and the Earth mover machine is going like, and you hear the sound from the last movie, like, you know,
Yeah.
and like stuff. Oh, it was just so engaging. I'm like, oh, I'm in.
Yep.
I'm in.
Hook,
Like,
line, and sinker.
oh, they did a good job, man.
Which is
Good
why we're
job.
going to be anxiously anticipating this official Justice League movie, and some may think that this should have been called Dawn of Justice. I think there was enough Batman v Superman to, warrant
to justify the title.
Yeah, exactly right. You didn't need to omit that part. So I'm going to extend first and foremost a grande gracias to all the guys here on the panel. We spoiled it a little. We talked some good, bad, and ugly. Standard fun for us here at Enfuegotainment. I'm going to give a shout out to Andrew Mercer first and foremost here, because he helps out so much with a project that Cecil and I do together that he's going to give you guys the rundown on right now.
Just real quick, we also have a horror variety show on YouTube at youtube.com/The Horror Show channel. And we do movie reviews, how-tos, comedy sketches, celebrity interviews, let's plays, con coverage, all kinds of good stuff, you guys. So go and check out the channel. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we overstuffed the turkey just like Batman v Superman did. So much content, it's crazy. Yeah, it's just like Thanksgiving on that Grindhouse, though. So
Yeah,
just kidding.
yeah, Thanksgiving.
And then last night, my best friend since birth, man, and the guy who read so many of these comics with me when we were little sporgiti guys, little guys. I got to extend the gracias to you, Sam. Thanks for stepping in on this first
Thanks
review,
for having
dude.
me, James. I appreciate it. It was
Heck
a
yeah,
good time.
man. And hopefully I can coerce him to return for Suicide Squad later here in the summer, which is the next time when we're going to see this DC cinematic universe developed a whole lot more, man. I'm pretty stoked because we know there might be some familiar characters in there. So,
Absolutely.
hell yeah, man. So I can extend a grande gracias to all of you guys once more. I'm Jaime En Fuego, and you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and obviously here on YouTube. So like, share, subscribe, be a homie. It is greatly appreciated. And until more of the hottest entertainment with an edge coverage, hasta luego, sin amigos, but let's make it sooner rather than later. Adios.
That's what would really happen.
Yes, and that's what did happen.
Yeah.